Hello and welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's episode we'll be taking the manager's perspective on the problems currently going on at Manchester United. We'll be looking at the tactics used by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the personnel he's got to work with, and the confidence and fitness of the players. After this we'll look on to how Solskjaer can begin to deal with the problems he's currently experiencing and turn it around in a way that can benefit the club and get us back challenging for silverware again. The best place to start is looking at the tactics Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has used since he's come in. In terms of the formation he prefers, he seems to prefer a 4-3-3 system with the midfield composing of Nemanja Matic and Herrera sitting behind Paul Pogba, allowing Pogba to roam forward and get into attacking positions to hurt the opposition. On the balance of play, the system, as shown on the screen now, would seem quite similar to the way Manchester City would line up. They also opt for a 4-3-3 formation. However, City prefer Fernandinho sitting deep with David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne, when everyone's fit, operating in front as attacking midfielders. However, this is pretty much where the similarities end. Solskjaer seems to favour a fluid system where his attacking players can change positions, move around and operate wherever they like. In contrast, Guardiola likes a more fixed system, with all of his players playing in their set positions, staying in separate zones of the pitch. For example, he likes a striker to ideally remain within the width of the penalty area, and his two wingers to stay wide on the channels, operating either in the space between the fullback and the touchline, or the space between the fullback and the centre-back. For United, with Jesse Lingard or Juan Mata usually playing on the right-hand side, this is simply not possible. It can't happen. And the reason is because Mata likes to play inside, Jesse Lingard also likes to play in the number 10 position. So what normally happens is both of them drop inside and play in the number 10 area, clogging it up effectively. Now, whereas last season we could get away with this because Antonio Valencia was playing as a right back and spent most of his time on the edge of the final third, out wide right, keeping the defence stretched. In comparison, this year, Ashley Young has played slightly deeper, meaning that the opposition fullback is not engaged looking at him, so there's no real need for the opposition fullback to be quite so wide, meaning the defence can operate a lot narrower, restricting the game and making it actually easier to defend against. What this normally results in is a cluster of players who like to play out on the left-hand side, so they all gather by the corner of the penalty area on the left-hand side. So normally you end up with the left winger, so Martial, Marcus Rashford, probably Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba all in the same area, a really small space on the left-hand side. What this means is that it's very easy to defend against because you're only using a very small area of the pitch. A main principle that coaches are often taught is when you're attacking, try and make the pitch as big as possible. For some reason, United seem to want to make it hard for themselves and do the exact opposite by clustering in a really small area of the pitch. This means that goals like the second goal we conceded against Cardiff are very easy for the opposition to score. All it takes is one ball to the opposite side of the pitch and 5 United players are immediately taken out of the equation. So it's pretty easy for opposition teams to counter-attack against us. Furthermore, it also makes attacking more difficult, because when you're in such a small area, the defenders are likely to be very tight to each player, so every single pass has to be perfect, every touch has to be perfect, and if it's slightly off, it's very easy for a defender to nip in and nick the ball away. Now, if we contrast this again with Manchester City, they have their players well spaced out, meaning that passes, if they're slightly off, it's okay as the players have more space to control them, and also when they do lose the ball, one simple long ball can't take out several players, so it's much harder to score against them, and it makes the press more effective because they have one man up against every single man of the opposition, so they can win the ball back more easily and keep the pressure on. The next thing we have to consider is something we've heard coming out of the club quite a lot recently in press conferences and the like, which is confidence. If players' confidence is low, their touch is going to be very slightly off, the passing isn't quite as precise as it was under those first few games under Solskjaer's reign, when we were winning all the time. In that period, no one could do anything wrong. Every single pass was perfect, pretty much every touch was perfect, so operating in these small clusters is fine because everything's so precise, it's difficult for the defenders to nip in. However, as soon as this slips and your touch becomes slightly off, the passes go out of play, players can't control it as well as they were in their first period, it becomes really easy to defend against and the whole team can be then pretty easily counted on. Clearly, whilst we'd all rather have better players playing for us, like Koulibaly or Wan-Bissaka at right back, or whoever it might be, the main issue is the tactical system, because under Mourinho last season, this wasn't happening. We weren't conceding so many goals. We had, I think, the second best defensive record in the league. In the first few games under Solskjaer, when confidence was high, we weren't losing the ball in a cluster of players. This wasn't happening. We weren't conceding quite so many. Yet we had exactly the same players playing for us. So, whilst clearly the personnel does need to be improved, I think the tactical system and the confidence as of late has not helped things at all. Ultimately, this is the reason why we're not scoring enough goals, because when confidence is low, we lose the ball far too easily. And secondly, why we're conceding so many, because if you lose 5 players at once, you've only got then 5 more outfield players to get past, and then they're in on goal. That's mainly the reason behind the defensive vulnerability at United. Obviously, the fact that the individual defenders we have, Ashley Young, Chris Smalling, Phil Jones, aren't necessarily the best is not helping things either. But the tactical system is the main reason why we're looking so poor. Another important thing to reflect on is under Herrera, because for the first few games under Solskjaer, Herrera was playing every single game, and in that right central midfield spot, he was actually doing a lot of work. He was operating as essentially another defender, because when all the players like to cluster on the left-hand side, and the opposition would switch it to the United's right so they could attack, Herrera is very, very good at breaking up play. So he would be very good at nipping in there, cutting out attacks, cutting out passes, intercepting things, and getting United back on the attack again. However, after Solskjaer was appointed permanent manager, Herrera was injured. And without the abilities of someone breaking up all the play on the right-hand side, a lot more attacks that we've conceded have come down that side. So without Herrera, we've conceded a lot more goals, mainly coming down that side. And the statistic that best shows this really is in Solskjaer's first 9 games when Herrera was played every single game, we won 8 and drew 1. In the next 9 games when Herrera was injured, we won 4, drew 1 and lost 4. This sums up just how crucial Herrera was to the approach that United took and the tactics we were playing with. However, the fact that we're losing Herrera is not necessarily a bad thing, provided the right recruitment is done for next year. If we can address the balance that means that everyone was clustering on the left-hand side by signing a proper right winger and a proper right back, then you won't necessarily need somebody to do the defensive job that Ander Herrera was doing, which was essentially carrying the team. The next thing to consider is something that Solskjaer has talked about a few times since he's been appointed. The fitness levels of the players has been very, very poor. This is particularly important when you're clustering up in attacking positions, because what it means is that as soon as you lose the ball, if the likes of Lingard or Pogba need to get back to their positions to defend, they have to make a long sprint across the pitch and back. Clearly, players have been jogging back for months, which is frankly an unacceptable level of poor effort for a United player. Like, if they're playing for United, you expect them to be giving everything for their shirt, not slowly jogging back. So that is very poor, but I think as much as some players it's probably a lack of desire to play for the shirt, in other players it's simply a lack of fitness. Players like Rashford, since he got injured in that Liverpool game, haven't really looked the same, haven't been able to run, so I hope, for at least Rashford's sake, it's an injury he's kind of been carrying and hasn't quite gotten over, and over the summer hopefully he gets over that and gets his desire to run back. But this links into, ultimately, how we can improve this going forward, how Solskjaer can make United challenge again. The first and probably most important thing is get the fitness of the players back up. Even if we're, for whatever reason, unable to make any of the signings we want to make, just improving the fitness of the players would go some way to improving our performance. However, this on its own will not be enough, absolutely not be enough. We clearly need a leader at centre-back. So I think for this position, Kalidou Koulibaly, just pay the money. That unreal blocker he made on the line for Napoli, he's an incredible centre-back. We need him. Hopefully he'll have the similar effect to Van Dijk at Liverpool. But on his own, he's not the only signing we need. We also need a right winger so that we don't have to play with these clusters out on the left. We've got players spread out over the pitch. We keep the pitch nice and big when we're attacking. Also, having a good right winger gives Pogba more options when he's in possession. He's good enough to hit balls all over the pitch, make great passes. So another option for him is only a positive, really. So we need a good right winger. Also, to strengthen that right-hand side at right-back, Diogo Dalot, going forward, has been very good this season. However, defensively he's been suspect. And whilst I've no doubts he'll eventually become a great Man United player, he needs time. He needs time to develop, and he's probably not ready to start yet as a first choice right back. So I think signing an experienced, established right back would be a good move. Also, clearly Ander Herrera's gone. Nemanja Matic can't run, never has really been able to, doesn't have any legs. So 2 new midfield players are probably essential, and that's assuming Pogba doesn't leave. If Pogba does leave, the obvious replacement would be Bruno Fernandes, and that would be a fantastic signing if we could make it happen. Finally, with recruitment, one of the most important things is that the players will actually want to play for the shirt. If we're signing players like Sanchez, who are just coming for the money, as Patrice Evra said himself, then really we're not going to improve. We need players that want to play for the shirt, will give everything for the shirt, will put all of their effort in every game, and ultimately that's what the fans want to see. Players like Herrera who give everything for the shirt. If we can get all of these things sorted, the fitness, the recruitment and players that want to play for the shirt, then United will start winning again, which solves the confidence problem as well, and hopefully will lead us to higher league position finishes and hopefully some silverware soon.